Hey everyone, it's me, Caitlin. Um, I decided to do a video even though I don't feel well, so just ignore all of this, about our discussion on McEwan's point of view on the novella. I thought it was a really interesting read, and like I said in my introduction video, it kind of blew me away and taught me a lot about the novella that I didn't grasp before. And I think one of my big questions on the novella is, how to define what is a novella or what is a short novel or even a long short story. Like I said with Joyce's The Dead, I always thought that was a short story, and that's how it's been presented to me in every class that I've read it in. So it's interesting. I think that the novella is kind of up to it's not completely defined. You can't say this is a novella because it's 15,000 words or, whatever type of thing. I think that it has more to do with the structure of it and what it's about it does, sorry, than it does, than it's in its exact genre. For instance, in the last class that I took, we read Gabriel Garcia Marquez's Chronicle of a Death Foretold, which is allegedly considered a novel, but I don't really know, due to its length and its subject, if that could be considered a novella. Just like Camus' L'Étranger, I thought that was a novel as well, but I guess it could be considered a novella. So I'm wondering if it's more the structure and the subject and pacing and that kind of stuff that makes it a novella as opposed to a novel. But I think that once we start reading more in this class, we will find out more. So when it comes from to defining traits, I think that, like how McEwan talks about the size difference. He says that novellas don't ramble or preach, and they spare us their quintuple subplots and swollen midsections. So it's easy for me to see the traits of the novella and how they are different from the novel when it comes to the size of it and the multiple subplots and lots of different things going on and the possible rambling, which does happen even in the best of novels, where things could be cut, like he said. So I think that one of the, some of the defining traits of the novella have to do with the word count, but also, what's going on inside it and how many characters there are and how many subplots and those sort of things. I don't think that a novella can sustain a lot of different moving parts because it's supposed to be shorter and more concise. So I think that's how it differs from a novel. Short stories. So I've noticed that McEwan in his article talks a lot more when he more compares the novel and the novella, and even says that short stories are a completely different animal. And I think that that's true. A short story, it really can't have anything superfluous in it. It's usually like a set place, a set small number of characters, and a plot that goes from point A to point B. Of course, there's nonlinear stories and things of that nature, but a short story is really self-contained, whereas a novel can have those lots of subplots and things of that nature, and lots of characters and things going on. As I was talking to Jeffrey in our introduction, like George R. R. Martin is the perfect example. I can't wait to read the novella of his because I've read his novels and there's a billion characters. So I'm excited to see what he does with a novella because he doesn't know how to just, tell us about one person. So that'll be interesting. But I think that, the novel and the short story can meet in the middle in a novella, and really incorporate the best of both worlds because it can give us the the what is the word I'm looking for? The distinct nature of a short story's characterizations and ideas, but give us a little bit more time to, be a part of the world and, feel like we're reading something more of a novel length, but not quite with as many moving parts. So I think that it is probably a good um, median between the short story and the novel. But the only thing that still confuses me about the whole situation is how it's defined, not compared to a short story. Like, you can usually tell when a short story has gone a certain length, and I even think that there's word counts, especially for publications and things of that nature for a short story. So if you go past that, you're in novella range. But how do you know when you've left novella territory and got to novel territory? And I really don't think there's a lot of like exact defining characteristics when it comes to the difference between a novel and a novella. I haven't read a lot of novellas. Like I said, I read some last quarter in our literary genres class, and it really helped to define for me how novellas work more contained than a novel. In both of the ones I read, they were in specific fields of action. There wasn't a lot of characters. The plot moved forward in a way that didn't have 1,000 subplots. Where a novel can, you know, incorporate all of that stuff. So, my definition is a little bit hazy at the moment of what a novella is comparatively to a novel, just because I don't think that there's a distinct. My cat doesn't like when I talk to myself. I don't think that there's a distinct. This is a novel. This is a novella based on word count, or subject and things of that nature. So it's something that I think that I'm going to define more over the term of the class, and of course in our one of our final discussions when I get to look back on this. Hopefully, I can have a better idea of exactly how to define that. But one thing that, he said that did really speak to me was that the people who write novels are slaves to the giant instead of masters of the form. And I think that that really helps to define a novella as well. Um, and to build on what he's already said about the novella, I think that he's on track with how it's, the perfect form for a work of prose that is longer than a short story and maybe can explore more things, but isn't, a slave to a giant that doesn't need as many things going on as it does. So I like the idea of novellas, especially like I said, because of screenwriting. And I think that it's going to be really interesting to read more of them and kind of get a better definition to help us when we work on our own. Um, and so that's really about it. I don't think he has a lot of blind spots in what he thinks. I think that the major blind spot for anybody when defining a novella is that it kind of defies definition. When I read The Heart of Darkness, I thought it was a novel. When I read L'Étranger, I thought it was a novel. When I read The Chronicles of a Death Foretold, I knew it was a novel, but now that I'm looking back on it, I'm wondering like why wouldn't that be considered a novella? So I think that learning some more about them and reading them and getting examples and working on my own and getting feedback and all that's really going to help with the definition. So I'm trying to see, just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Again, sorry for my sickness, but I'm really looking forward to working with you guys and um, reading what you guys think about the novella and what you guys think that the traits are, and hopefully coming up with a more definite definition. But I'll see you guys in the discussion this week. Thanks. Bye.